Have you ever stood in a room full of people and felt utterly alone? Or maybe you've looked at someone you thought you knew, really knew, and realized you were only seeing a reflection of your own fear. We live in a world that is so loud right now, it feels like we are constantly shouting at each other across a divide that keeps getting wider. We scroll, we judge, we react. We forget that behind every opinion, behind every angry comment, there is a human being with a story we haven't read yet. That is why I keep coming back to a book I first read when I was just a kid. You probably read it too. Maybe you were forced to read it in a stuffy classroom with fluorescent lights humming overhead. Maybe you just skimmed the spark notes to pass a quiz. But I want to ask you to do something with me tonight. I want you to forget the essays. Forget the grades. Forget the teacher telling you what the themes were supposed to be. Come with me back to Maycomb. Let's walk those dusty red clay roads together. Let's sit on the porch swing in the dark and just listen, because To Kill a Mockingbird isn't just a story about a lawyer in the 1930s. It is a ghost story. It is a story about the ghosts we carry in our own hearts. And the symbols hidden in these pages? They aren't just literary devices. They are maps. They are warnings, and they are possibly the only things that can help us find our way back to each other in 2026. Imagine a town that is tired. Harper Lee tells us that Maycomb was an old town, but it was a tired old town when I first knew it. In rainy weather, the streets turned to red slop. Grass grew on the sidewalks, the courthouse sagged in the square. It was hot, oppressively hot. Men's stiff collars wilted by 9 in the morning. There was no hurry because there was nowhere to go. Nothing to buy and no money to buy it with. But beneath that sleepy slow-motion surface, there was something bubbling. Something dangerous. A rigid code of who belonged and who didn't, who mattered and who was invisible. It's in this heavy, suffocating atmosphere that we find our first hidden symbol, and it's one that terrified me as a child. Do you remember the mad dog? Tim Johnson, the pet of Maycomb that suddenly went rabid. It was February, the dead of winter, which was wrong. Mad dogs were supposed to come in August. But there he was, twitching and lurching down the main street. This scene is a masterclass in tension. But look closer. The dog isn't just a sick animal. The dog represents the madness of Maycomb itself. It represents racism, unchecked, irrational, and deadly. Just like the disease, the racism in this town wasn't rational. It didn't follow the rules of the season. It could strike anyone, anything, at any time. The townspeople hide behind their doors, helpless. They lock themselves in. Just like we retreat into our echo chambers when things get scary. They know something is wrong, but they are paralyzed. And who is called to deal with it? Atticus Finch. This brings us to our second symbol, Atticus's gun. We learned that Atticus was once known as One-Shot Finch, the best shot in the county. His children, Scout and Jim, had no idea. They thought he was just boring, old, and feeble. They wanted a hero who played football, not one who read newspapers. But when he steps into the street to face that mad dog, he drops his glasses. They crack. He takes the rifle. He fires. One shot. The dog is dead. The danger is over. But here is the beautiful, heartbreaking secret of the gun. Atticus gave it up years ago. He hated guns. He realized that having an unfair advantage over living things wasn't something to be proud of. The gun represents power, ultimate lethal power, but Atticus symbolizes the restraint of power. He teaches us that being strong doesn't mean showing off your strength. It doesn't mean being the loudest voice in the room or the one with the biggest weapon. Real courage, he tells his son later, is when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway. He picks up the gun only when he absolutely has to protect the innocent. Think about that for a second. In a world where everyone is trigger-happy, with their words, their tweets, their judgments, how rare is it to find someone who holds their fire? Someone who has the power to destroy but chooses peace? Now let's move away from the danger and look for something smaller, something quiet. The knothole in the oak tree. This is my favorite symbol in the entire book. It sits on the edge of the Radley property, the terrifying place where the monster Boo Radley lives, or so the kids think. But in this knothole, gifts start to appear. Chewing gum, 2 polished Indian head pennies, a spelling medal, a broken pocket watch, Two little carved soap dolls that look exactly like Scout and Jem. These aren't just trinkets. They are a desperate language. They are a shy, broken soul trying to say, "I see you." Boo Radley has been locked away, silenced by his family and by society. He cannot speak. He cannot come out. So he puts his whole heart into a hollow tree. The knothole represents the hidden connections between us. It represents the kindness that exists in the places we least expect it. It suggests that even in the scariest places, even with the people we are told to fear, there is humanity trying to break through. But then disaster strikes. Nathan Radley, Boo's brother, fills the knothole with cement. He claims the tree is dying, but Atticus looks at it and says the tree is healthy. The cement isn't there to save the tree. It is there to kill the connection. It is there to stop the communication. How often do we do that? How often do we pour cement over the little openings where we might understand someone different from us? We block them. We ban them. We write them off. And we leave the other person standing there staring at a concrete wall, wondering what they did wrong. This leads us right to the Radley house itself, and specifically Boo Radley's door. For the children, this house is a haunted castle. They run past it. They dare each other to touch it. It represents the unknown. It represents the stories we make up about people we don't know. Rumors said Boo ate raw squirrels. They said he was a phantom. But the house is just a house, and the door is just a barrier between the public world and a private tragedy. Throughout the book, the kids are obsessed with getting Boo to come out. They want to see the freak show. But by the end, when the door finally opens, it isn't for a show. It's to save their lives. The symbol here is about judgment versus reality. We judge the Radley house from the outside. We judge the peeling paint and the dark windows. But inside, there is a man who watches over these children with a love so fierce he risks everything to save them. The house teaches us that every closed door hides a complex human life, and usually the monster we imagine behind it is just a person who is hurting. There is a moment in the middle of the book that gives me chills every time I read it. It's the night of the fire. Miss Maudie's house is burning down. It's freezing cold. The whole town is out watching the flames. Scout is standing there shivering in the cold air, terrified. She is focused on the fire. She is focused on the chaos. Later, when they get back home, Atticus asks her, "Where did you get that blanket?" Scout looks down. She is wearing a woolen blanket she doesn't own. She didn't even feel it being put on her shoulders. It was Boo. In the chaos, amidst the destruction, the person she feared most came up behind her and kept her warm. Scout's blanket is a symbol of silent protection. It is the unseen grace that surrounds us. Sometimes when our world is burning down, when we lose a job or a relationship or our hope, we are so focused on the fire that we don't notice the blanket on our shoulders. We don't notice the small acts of kindness that are keeping us from freezing. It reminds us that we are loved, even when we don't feel it, even when we don't see it. But not all symbols in this book are hopeful. We have to talk about the jury. This is the hardest part. Atticus makes a case that is undeniable. Tom Robinson is innocent. The evidence is clear. Tom has a disabled arm. He physically could not have committed the crime. Atticus dismantles the prosecution's lies with surgical precision. In a just world, the jury would return in 5 minutes with a not guilty. Scout and Jem, in their innocence, believe they will. They believe truth matters. They believe facts matter. But the jury stays out for hours. And when they come back, guilty. The jury represents the institutionalizing of prejudice. It represents what happens when a group of people stop thinking for themselves and surrender to the disease of racism. It is the mad dog in human form. But there is a tiny, painful glimmer of light here. Miss Maudie points it out later. She says the jury stayed out a long time. Usually, a case like that in the 1930s South would take 5 minutes. But they deliberated. They argued. Someone in that room was fighting for Tom. It wasn't enough to save him. And that hurts. It makes you angry. It should make you angry. But it means the armor of prejudice had a crack in it. It means that even in the darkest systems, change is trying to push through. It's slow. It's agonizingly slow. But it's there. And finally we arrive at the heart of it all, the title itself, The Mockingbird. Atticus gives the children air rifles for Christmas, but he gives them one rule. Shoot all the blue jays you want if you can hit them, but remember it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. Why? Because mockingbirds don't do one thing but make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens. They don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do anything but sing their hearts out for us. The mockingbird is innocence. Pure, helpful, harmless innocence. In the book, Tom Robinson is a mockingbird. He helped Mayella Ewell because he felt sorry for her. He did nothing but try to be kind. And he was destroyed for it. Boo Radley is a mockingbird, a gentle spirit damaged by a harsh world. The symbol is a plea. It is a plea to protect the vulnerable, to protect those who have no voice, to protect the beauty in the world that tries to exist despite the ugliness. When we destroy innocence, whether it's crushing a child's spirit, ignoring the suffering of the poor, or condemning someone without cause, we are killing a mockingbird. And that, Harper Lee tells us, is a sin, not a crime. A sin. It touches our soul. So why does this matter now? Why in 2026 am I sitting here getting choked up over a book published more than 60 years ago? Because look around. Are we really that different from Maycomb? We still judge people by the color of their skin, or the God they pray to, or the party they vote for. We still fill the knotholes with cement because we are afraid of connection. We still see mad dogs where there are only sick people needing help. We still convict mockingbirds in the court of public opinion before we even hear the evidence. But here's what I hold on to. I hold on to the image of Atticus sitting under the jailhouse light, reading a newspaper, protecting Tom Robinson from a mob. I hold on to the image of a blanket placed gently on shivering shoulders. I hold on to the fact that the jury stayed out a long time. The world is messy. It is unfair. It will break your heart 1,000 times. But we have a choice. We can be the lynch mob, or we can be the lawyer. We can be the cement, or we can be the knothole. We can be the fear, or we can be the blanket. Harper Lee taught me that empathy isn't soft. It isn't weak. It is the most powerful weapon we have. It is the gun we choose not to fire. It is the ability to walk around in someone else's skin and see the world through their eyes. I want you to try something this week. When you feel that snap judgment rising in your chest, when you want to write that person off, just pause, think of the knothole, think of the mockingbird, and ask yourself, what story am I missing here? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Not just a generic comment, but I really want to know, is there a Boo Radley in your life? Someone you misjudged only to find out later they were fighting a battle you knew nothing about? Share your story. Let's make this comment section a knothole where we can leave gifts for each other. If this video made you feel something, please click the like button so it can reach more people. And subscribe if you want to sit on the porch with me again sometime. Take care of your mockingbirds, everyone. Good night.